Good evening and welcome to the Development Review Commission meeting, August 8th. The Development Review Commission is created to hold public meetings and hearings to provide analysis and recommendation to the City Council regarding general land use policies and applications where the Commission has the power to recommend and to render final decisions on specified applications where the Commission has final decision-making power, including but not limited to all aspects of a proposed and future development. The Development Review Commission recognizes that the creation of a desirable environment throughout the city for residents, business, and industry is a prime requisite for the interdependence of land values, aesthetics, and good site planning by promoting harmonious, safe, attractive, and compatible development that is therefore considered to be in the best interests of public health, safety, and general welfare. I'd like to begin by introducing the members of the Commission. To my far left is Andrew Johnson, Phil Amorosi, Barbara Lloyd. To my right, Vice Chair David Lyon, Mike DiDomenico, and Tom Brown. My name is Linda Spears. From staff, we have Cynthia Jared, Lee Jimenez, Diana Kaminsky, Suparna Dasgupta, and Obinia Kingsley. Our first item tonight is the approval of the study session and regular meeting minutes of July 25th. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Vice Chair Lyon.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the study session and regular session minutes for July 25, 2017.
Second? Moved by Vice Chair Lyon, seconded by Commissioner Johnson for the approval of the minutes. All those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed, passes 6-0 with the commissioners present voting. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and we're going to vote on these cases without discussion unless there is someone in the audience who has objection, would like to hear the case. PL 170200 Daytona Racing Experience and PL 160420 Precision Fleet Services. Anyone in the audience that would like to discuss these? Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion for approval of consent.
I move for approval of the consent agenda as written.
Second? Second. It's been moved by Commissioner DiDomenico and seconded by Commissioner Lloyd. All those in favor? And that passes 7-0. The next item we will consider is Second and Hardy Townhomes, PL 170152.
Good evening, Commission. Obinia Kingsley, Planner 2 with the City of Tempe. Second and Hardy Townhomes is proposed on southeast corner of Hardy Drive and 2nd Street and is zoned R3, which is multifamily residential. The applicant is requesting a single-family attached development consisting of 20 dwelling units in 3 buildings. One building will have 10 units, and both the other 2 buildings will have 5 units. The applicant is also requesting a use permit to allow tandem parking for the project. A use permit standard to increase the maximum allowed building height from 30 to 32 feet. And also a development plan review, including a site plan, building elevations, and a landscape plan. The project is meeting the development standards for the zoning district, with the exception of the building height, which is the reason for the use permit standard to increase the building height by 2 feet. All units or all the buildings will be 3 stories and will have tandem parking at the bottom. There's also a amenity building on site for the pool area, and there is an additional 13 surface parking spaces available for guests. Staff is recommending approval of this project subject to conditions. The reason for our approval here is that the project will meet the development standards required for the zoning and development code. The project proposed also meets the approval criteria for both the use permit and the development plan review. I will allow the applicant to provide more details as far as design-related items and why they made certain decisions as far as the plans goes. And I can answer any questions you may have at this time.
Any questions of staff? Commissioner DiDomenico.
Could you speak to the variance for the 2-foot height variance? What drives that, their reason for requesting it?
Commissioner Domenico, DiDomenico, sorry. They are proposing the 2-height increase. It allows there to be more variation in the vertical plane of the building, so we're hoping that with that'd be something that can give the building a little more visual interest by having it go up and down instead of having a flat line roof. And if you were to go lower, they may not be able to accommodate what's normal for a unit as far as per floor level.
And staff feels that it fits with the general height in the neighborhood and what's planned for?
Correct.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right, the applicant can come forward.
My name is Anthony Miachka. I'm with Pacific Rim Property Investments, the owner-developer of the site. And my name's Tor Stewart. I'm the architect and working with Anthony on this project. We also did the one down the street at 5th and Hardy. So I guess our presentation today is a PowerPoint. Is this the button you push for that? Nice. I don't know how to use this. So this is forward and that's back. Okay, good. Okay, so this is the view here from 2nd and Hardy looking into the development to the southwest, I believe. Southeast. Southeast, okay. You can see that it's got lots of different variation in architectural. It's got lots of trees and shading to help it tuck itself into the neighborhood. This is from looking, I guess this would be more northwest from the south part of the property looking into the service dial. No, northeast. Northeast? Yeah, we're looking from Hardy Drive here.
Looking from Hardy Drive, right. You can see the 5-plex in the back, and this is the other end of the 10-plex. Currently, the lot has old 8-plex and another building with some service-type facilities on it. It's a big mess, so this is definitely going to clean up that part of the neighborhood quite a bit. We have second-floor balconies, as you can see, and a lot of different building materials. High quality and very nice building materials. In addition to the townhouse units, the project will include a common area and amenity building, common area pool and amenity building. The amenity building is matching the architectural style of the townhouses with split face block, horizontal fiber cement siding, 2 different types of stucco, and some metal trim, and high-quality metal windows. We believe that per the City of Tempe Zoning and Development Code, this project meets the Zoning and Development Code because the placement, form, and articulation of the buildings and structures provide offsets and a variety to the streetscape, while the building design and orientation together with landscaping combine to mitigate heat gain, retention, while providing shade for energy conservation and human comfort. In addition, the stucco, smooth face, and split face blocks and modern fiber cement siding are of a superior quality, ideally suited for the desert climate, providing details appropriate with their location and function while the buildings, structures, and landscape elements are appropriately scaled and a complement relative to the site and surroundings. This drawing here shows you the green trees that are surrounding the property, and the red lines that stagger on Hardy show the variation in the horizontal relief, and the red lines across the top at 2nd Street down to the amenity building show there's a variation in streetscapes along 2nd Street, which is essentially a dead-end road. It does loop around, but there's very few people who live over there. I can't read from here what that says, but basically this is talking about the height limit. I think if you can read all that. I can't read it from here, but
It's just talking about our massing and partly to do with the height increase request. Staff came to us, and originally we were at the allowed 30-foot height in design, and staff came to us and asked for more articulation from the roof level.
and we wanted to maintain the living space inside of 9 foot on the main floor, 9 foot on the middle floor, and 8 foot on the top floor. And in order to gain the articulation that they were looking for, we had to penetrate above the 30 feet, a couple of feet.
And that is incidentally only with parapets, and it's just a visual expression. It doesn't happen all around the building, only in a couple of places. So there are other places that are at 30 feet. So it's just helpful to gain that visual variety. This is our color palette. As you can see, it's a neutral tone. We've got some nice green there for the front door in some areas. But then we also have split face and some smooth face block. So those are very high quality materials. They'll last a long time in the desert. Not able to read this from here. Anthony, do you want to chime in here?
And this, we were talking about the use of tandem parking and how it did not conflict with the neighborhood and met the requirements of the city under the use permit request. And we have, in addition, we built a project at the corner, and it would be the northwest corner of 5th and Hardy that had tandem parking in it as well, and asked for the same tandem parking permit use request. Were approved there, and that project's been very successful. We're very proud of it. It's operated very well, and greatly improved that corner, which was just an old rundown house that stayed vacant for many years. I don't even know how many years, but it was a lot of years sitting vacant.
Okay, so in addition to the tandem parking, the minimum width is 11 feet, the length is 38 by code. We're quite a bit wider than that on the inside. We're 15.5 in some places, which basically takes a tandem parking and allows it to be more useful than just parking cars. You can see the bicycles on one side, the trash on the other, lots of room for storage. So even in the narrowest part, it's still quite a bit wider than the minimum. So we feel that that's a nice use of space that's available for the homeowners who will live there. These are townhouses that are owned by the people who live there. So it's not a rental area, it's not for students. So we think any daily problems with parking or trying to shift people around would probably be less of an issue, because whoever lives there is going to own it with either with themselves or with somebody else, but it's not a group of people like you'd expect in student housing.
Well, it's also it's a 3-bedroom unit, probably going to be a husband and wife, maybe with kids. And I know I've lived off and on in Europe as well, and had to deal with this exact tandem parking use. And it just becomes a way of life, and it's not very complicated. And because we have internal drive aisles through that don't go out into the public streets, any jockeying of cars just becomes and is done within the drive aisles within inside. So it doesn't affect neighbors. It doesn't have any impact on the neighborhood. It's just husband and wife have to organize themselves.
Yeah. We did get a letter or a note last week from somebody asking about some very special questions and concerns. Again, I can't read any of this from this distance, but we do meet everything on that list that was on there. The only one we don't meet is the visual distance in front of windows, 55 and 65 feet. I wouldn't say we don't meet them. I think about half the units do face out into greater vista corridors, but there is a drive aisle down the middle. It's 26 feet between the units. They do stagger between the windows, so one of my pet peeves as an architect is having somebody standing at their bedroom window looking at someone else's bedroom. This project doesn't do that. They do stagger quite a bit, so there's no privacy issues for people who live there. Yeah, so I guess it's just a matter of understanding that all the criteria that's in there, we do meet all of them. So we should be pretty comfortable in making whoever wrote that know that we're meeting all their intents. This is the one that we did down the street at 5th and Hardy. And it's a very similar development. If anybody's ever gone by and seen it, you recognize the quality materials and the way it was built. This is obviously after the landscaping's grown up a little bit, and I think that's a couple of years in the making, but yeah, we're excited and proud to hopefully do a similar development just north of this by a couple of blocks, or one block, actually.
4 doors.
4 doors even.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it for me. Anthony, do you have anything to add?
No, just that, again, we're very excited to get going with this project. It's going to be a great addition to the neighborhood, and much better than what's currently existing. And I think will add to the city of Tempe.
Madam Chair, could I make one clarification?
Yes.
So the project on the northwest corner of Fifth and Hardy was always processed as a rental prop. It was for apartments, and this one is a for sale townhome product. So that's the only difference between these two projects. I wanted to make that clarification.
Okay, thank you. Questions of the applicant from anyone? Mr. Yamarosi?
Hi, thanks for addressing a lot of my questions in your presentation. Just one other thing with, I'm big on sustainability and you talk about quality materials. I was wondering, are your windows dual pane windows to help the homeowners with their utilities?
Yes, they are.
Yeah,
They are.
They're high efficiency windows.
High efficiency windows, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Lyon?
So I'd like to say that I appreciate the effort that went into preparing these materials. This is very thorough, and I appreciate that you did high-quality renderings, and we have a nice set of plans in front of us. I like your project. I think your units have a good plan. I think this is sensible. I think you're talking about some very nice materials and a nice design. It may be just a subjective matter. The one thing that gives me pause a little bit is your 10-unit building. This is, I guess, a personal taste matter, but I feel like it is perhaps a little too repetitious. It looks like all 10 units are precisely the same, right next to each other, and I wonder if maybe the building doesn't want to have a couple of elements or masses that span wider than one unit. Perhaps other members of the commission will feel differently, but I just wonder, how do you feel about looking at some aesthetic changes of that variety?
I think that's a great idea. The dilemma we have as architects and developers that this is a townhouse development. Building code requires that each unit be structurally independent. So we don't have the flexibility to span between the units like we did at Second and Hardy with materials that connect buildings separately like that. So we're kind of forced by code to have individual units having their own structural identity.
But even so, I mean, and again, this is all obviously personal taste. But I've built, I don't know, probably 400 or 500 units like this in the past. And I know just from experience and seeing what Tor has created, it will have a very interesting feel from the street. Because really once you have a building and then you start mixing in the landscape in with it, and start changing up that, because that's not in front of every unit, it changes so that when you're actually standing on the street looking at the building, it doesn't all have the same look. It kind of, and then there's always different shadow lines and different feels from different angles that it just doesn't come across as one big plane. So,
And in support of that, there's a lot of horizontal, vertical, and different changes of materials and textures going in and out of the architecture, which is going to accentuate the shadow lines and have a different profile across the building during the day as the sun moves around it. So it's going to be a very interesting building as the sun does move around it.
Okay, I agree with most all of what you've said. I guess for me, I mean, I feel like each individual unit is very nicely articulated. Again, subjectively, I feel like when you get to 10 of them, it's going to start to feel a little bit cut and paste. I understand what you're saying about each unit has to be structurally independent, but I feel like it might need a little bit more to make it read as a single building as opposed to unit and multiple marching right down the street. But I'll let that one go.
Other comments? Commissioner Brown?
When Commissioner Lyon suggested spanning out, I didn't think he meant structurally, I thought he meant the materials. So you could, for example, take 2 or 3 of the units and mirror image them so you have the same number of materials, but conceivably have larger expanses of material. But I'll let that go, but I don't think he meant literally span a 2-story.
That is true, and
structurally.
interestingly enough, at Second and Hardy, we did mirror buildings, and we did flip them like that. This one was a different type of product, and we have different scenarios that affect the design, and we were not able to flip and mirror them like you suggested. I also like taking the whole building and staggering whenever possible. This one was such a unique site with so many different challenges that we weren't able to do that this time.
I was glad that Ms. Dasgupta just mentioned that those units on 5th and Hardy were always presented as rentals, and this is for sale.
Yeah, these are for sale.
Can you?
They're like townhomes that, the land underneath is owned by the unit.
Can you give us an idea of the price point?
That has not been determined yet.
Can you give us an idea of the quality of the finishes and obviously the
They're all
bathroom and kitchen?
high-level finish.
What does that mean to you?
I'll say like a quartz countertop, stainless, high-end flooring, lighting, bathroom fixtures, all upper end. So, and it's going to be an extremely nice project finished.
And I'd say that overall it's a good project. I don't really object to it. I would agree that maybe it's a zipper of 10, but with good landscaping, perhaps that can be broken up. And I'll let Chairman Spears ask if there are students who are going to rent here. And I do note that some bedrooms are kind of smallish, so maybe that's just right for a toddler. Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner Lloyd?
Thank you. I noticed on your site plan, and I saw in the drawings that there's storage for bikes in the garage, but there are calls for 0 bike parking on site. I mean, there's a bike lane on Hardy. This is still a very bikeable community. So could you address if you might be adding some bike parking on site? And secondly, your row of 10 out on Hardy obviously faces directly west. Can you just talk about the trees and how impactful they'll be to create some meaningful shade on those patio balcony units?
It's a great question. Yeah, we did originally have a bike rack that was for 4 bikes. It was right next to the amenity center, where our row of mailboxes were going to be. We were instructed to remove that, and so we removed it for the application, and I think about 2 weeks ago we were instructed to add it back in again. So we actually have a carve out on the concrete plan, on the site plan, where that bike rack was going to be. We'll just add it right back in, so that can be easily done. And you're right, west-facing exposure with Second Hardy right there. That's why we're doing 7 giant trees that are going to be shading directly into the second floor of the main living areas of the units.
But it's also why the unit and the windows, the buildings articulate out and then step back under cover on that second floor balcony that you're looking on the screen. All meant to sort of help dissipate some of the sun and give shadow lines.
Exactly.
Commissioner Johnson?
I just have two questions, and this is the perfect picture for my first question. And it goes to the point of heat gain especially on 3rd floors. Those windows, do those actually open?
Oh yeah.
Oh, they do. Okay. From this picture, it looks like they're kind of static windows, but
It's one slider, isn't it, that goes across?
No, it's one slider.
Yeah, one full slider. So it's, even though it looks like 8 panes, think of it as 4 panes on a single, like 2 windows, and one of them slides over.
okay.
And each bedroom has fans in it as well. So, and then on top of it, it's fully air conditioned.
Right. But I mean, sometimes just when the weather's nice, you want to have some ventilation. So
Right.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it's required by code.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess my second question is there's courtyards identified in front of every single one of the units.
That's true, we have private courtyards for each of the units, yes.
And are those paved, or are the owners able to plant their own things in those areas, or?
You know, we
Are those
haven't really
permeable?
talked about that very much. It's a courtyard, it's about 10 by 10, it's not very big. But the important point is it's a place of privacy for the homeowners who want to go out and enjoy the yard area that they have. And at this point in time, we have a walkway leading to the front door and about a 5-foot concrete area for the covered entry area. And we haven't really articulated the interior of that courtyard for furniture or hard or softscape or any planting materials. I think that's going to be a homeowner-directed improvement that they might want to take on their own.
Gotcha. Good, thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
May I make a clarification to Commissioner Lloyd's question on the bike rack? Stipulation number 3, under development plan review, actually requires for some guest bicycle parking as part of the project.
If not, we will open the public hearing portion of this, so you will be allowed to come back and address anything that may come up in the public hearing. I only have one card, so if anyone else wishes to speak, please fill out a card and give it to staff. John Leatherwood.
Good evening. My name is John Leatherwood, and I own 804 West 2nd Street, which is just east of the property being presented tonight. And I'm here to publicly support the project. Their project on 5th and Hardy has made a great impact on the neighborhood, especially visually and occupying that corner, removing what was there in the past. I think this project will enhance the neighborhood as well, and I'm looking forward to have it completed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any additional or final comments from the applicant? If not, then I'll open it up to commissioner comments. Anything? Commissioner Amorosi.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Spears. I want to say I really like the project, and I'm going to be voting for it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Vice Chair Lyon.
Yeah, I think it's a great project. I wish it was a little bit less of a zipper, as Commissioner Brown put it, but it's a great project, and I'll vote for it.
Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner DiDomenico.
I move approval of, where's my numbers? PL 170152 with the stipulations as recommended by staff.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner DiDomenico, seconded by Vice Chair Lyon for the approval of 2nd and Hardy Townhomes. All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes 7-0. The next item on our agenda is discussion of city announcements. Does staff have any announcements?
Madam Chair and members of Commission, for August 22nd DRC meeting, there is one agenda item. It's a request for a development plan review and use permit to allow residential use in CSS zoning district for 45-unit multifamily development called Daybreak Apartments, and it's located on 1935 East Apache Boulevard. That's all we have for that agenda, and also just to officially on the record, the DRC retreat is scheduled for September 25th, Monday, at 5 o'clock at Haddon Hall. And the agenda will be posted, the meeting notice, at 24 hours prior.
Any comments from commissioners? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you.